I guarantee you this. If I was to take a bunch of these Gen Z males that they call losers and whatever else, and I would to say, let's rebuild an old Chevy motor in the backyard. Let's rebuild an old Suburban or something like that. I guarantee you the majority of them will be out there. We'll be taking that motor apart, building it back up together, building that truck. Or if I say a bunch of Gen Z guys, let's go run some ball. Let's run some hoops. Those dudes be like, come on, old head, meet you down at the park. I have no problem motivating young men. You know why? Because I don't sit around all day long kicking them in the back. You know why? Because to kick them in the back, I'd have to kick their parents in the back. They've only been around since 1996. So any failings of Gen Z go directly to their parents and the damn society that we have. We have a gynocentric, man-hating, male-bashing, feminist-loving, corporate-sponsored feminist government empowerment. You've been punching down and beating up on men, trying to turn men into girls, trying to turn boys into girls. All the male teachers are gone in school. You got a whole bunch of women in the school. They don't even let the boys play PE no more than 20 minutes or 20 minutes outside. Young men, put them on Ritalin and all kinds of drugs. There's been a whole campaign and movement to beat down and bash down on manhood and masculinity. You say, well, now we have weak men or disinterested men, or the fact that we deal with the hyperinflation, and a lot of these guys out here get their rocks off about kicking Gen Z young men in the back. What about their daddy? What about their mamas, these single moms who raise them, who kidnap these young boys' masculinity because they can't get along with men their age? She's disagreeable. She's terrible. She probably chased his daddy away, and he had no man in his life. And guess what? Now you say he's soft, but isn't whoever raised him raised the soft young men? You see, if you're talking about traditionalism and real culture, you are your father's son or your mother's son. Your father and your mother, when you bring shame to the household, when you go out commit crime, or when you're a derelict or a bum, it should be directly tied to your house and say, look, this young man or this young woman come from this particular house. Not that, look, sometimes parents can do everything possible to raise good kids, and this kid still turn out to be a bum, but the bum should be put on your house. It's like, oh, look at that boy over there. He's a bum. That's so-and-so's son. See, I have no problem with that as a Gen Xer. You know, you come and say, well, shit, that's a Peaceful Life's kid. He raised a bum. I don't have that issue with the young man that I've raised. But I'm saying to you, then I have no problem accepting that accountability as a man. So whatever the failings are with Gen Z is a direct failings of a society that has promoted femininity in men, has called anything that's masculine or toxic. Y'all are toxic. They're calling masculine. Now they're trying to kidnap masculinity now so they can exploit it, because especially with the Democrats, they want it for votes. They want it for votes now, period. And the birth rate is down. They want people in the military. They want to get fueled capitalism and whatever else. So when I talk to young men, I want them to be great for themselves. I want them to level up, take care of their personal fitness, their finances, become purposeful in life for them, not to go out. You know, if we were to use modern women as a reward at the end of the rainbow for all the men's sacrifices, you end up with a whole bunch of homeless men out here. Because one of the things that destroyed the family was feminism and sexual liberation. That means women who were really raised to be competitors of men, raised to be strong and independent, raised to have jobs, they were told by the women before them, girl, don't get married young, go out there and live your life. Yeah, but she's been living from 18 to 32. You think those women are practicing celibacy? No, they're getting viciously and vigorously pounded out. So the guy gets the leftover. See, we don't want to talk about a slew of women out here that have been ran through, and that these women that say, well, the guys are not. Yeah, but she said, well, I'm making XYZ amount of money and I'm successful. Yeah, but you got 50 bodies on you. What is that man getting special? Oh, you got 20 bodies on you. Or you've been sampled by many men because you took part in that sexual liberation. So the young men aren't getting anything special. So if you want to use the women as a motivator, you're going to end up with a bunch of homeless young men, and you're not going to be able to help the young men. I talk about financial freedom. I talk about the FIRE movement. I talk about early retirement for the young men. I talk about them developing their skill set, their mindset, their purpose, and things that benefit them on their own as individuals, not about fueling your capitalistic machine. It's about them. Does capitalism indirectly benefit? Yes. Do women indirectly benefit? Yes. But it's about them first, and whatever trickles down from them is whatever it is. But it starts with them and showing them respect. And you have to also ask the question, what do men want? Well, I understand. I get it. Women spend 80% of the money. They are all the shopping. So the society itself is designed to pander to women. But have anybody ever asked the question, what do men deserve? What do men want? What should men receive? How should men be treated in relationships? How should men be respected? Good men, honorable men, respectful men. We got to get into all these questions. Is there a problem with Gen Z males? Yes. Some of them. But most of them, a lot of them are underemployed. They work certain jobs that are not like career fields, some of them. But for the most part, a lot of the young men are just working jobs and just really checked out in terms of, because they don't see any reward at the end of the rainbow. For what? They'll be their dad all burnt out and shit, divorced, get ran through family court. They don't want to change the divorce laws. They don't want to change the laws with custody and family. Like these young men don't see no incentives. What's the incentive? They go marry some chick. She now works at the firm, but she's been ran through by the football team in her 20s. Now she's 32 with 50 bodies on her. And now they tell a young man, hey, look, level up so you can marry the woman with 50. Where's the reward in that? You're going to end up with homeless young men. Now I'll be walking around with a food truck. I'll be driving around the food truck trying to motivate young men, because they're like, hell no, peaceful life. They talk about we should go marry these old ran through women. I'm like, yo, look, man, forget about these women. Let's go down and put together some hot rods or something like that. And that's the way you have to motivate these boys. You can't be using these women. You can teach them about women. You can teach them about female nature. You can teach them how to find a good woman, a unicorn, or whatever else. But this idea of just kicking them in the back all the time, not providing any type of encouragement, is only creating more and more of a problem for the Gen Z men, in terms of they just are not listening to you anyhow. Nobody's listening to people that always put them down or whatever, especially when they don't really have anything to offer you of value, of any encouragement, other than call you a loser or a bum or whatever else, because you won't be a cog in the machine of their capitalistic plans, or you won't come and chase down women that have embraced feminism and mismanaged their youth, and mismanaged their bodies and allowed themselves to be ran through. And you notice the women are cheering it on. Yeah. Look at all these bums here. They ain't doing anything. They ain't leveling up to marrying us. But what are you leveling up to? It ain't just your career. What about your values and your virtues, and how you give away your body to so many men? You've leveled yourself down. And they assume this is the problem we have. Social status versus value. See, men value purity and virtues. There ain't no bunch of Proverbs 20:31 women running around here. You're crazy. You're nuts if you think there's a bunch of virtuous women walking around here. You're insane. You're insane. Maybe 5%. The select few that's out here. They like to make it all about the young men and all about the men. Nah, man, come on. This is the side effects of a social program that was designed to feminize men, to turn men into women. Many of the people that complain about the young men, they couldn't even tell you what is a man. In fact, they support policies that try to transition the boys into girls. And now they're running their mouths about boys being boys and men being men. When your vote is about people turning into women, men turning into women, a genderless world, gender is a construct. Did you forget what you vote for? You forget about that? You got amnesia. You don't think policy matters? Everything you vote for is about turning men into women, making men less masculine. You've been doing it for the last 60, 70, 80 years. You've been doing it in this country. Attacking manhood and masculinity, pushing men down to uplift women. What do you think you do? You're not trying to raise them both at the same time. Not in the policy. So everything, including, you could even go back to the schools, the teachers, the young men, taking away playing time. All of these things, we have a historical context to go back to and to understand how we got here. Men respond to incentives. Young men respond to incentives. Get women off the table. That's why I'm really a supporter of all boys school coming back, to be honest with you, to really inspire, help the young men, to really, coach them emotional discipline, challenge them mentally in how they learn, get them into the science and the technology, and really, really develop their manhood, their masculinity, separate from what the society has in store for them, especially with today's modern women. You got to have different motivating factors. But right now, what you're doing is only making the problem worse. These dudes ain't really the situation. They look at the divorce laws. They look at what's happened to the men before them. They look at the greatest society. They look at how women are. You're not motivating them for that. You can motivate them for their own survival. You can motivate them for their own well-being as men. But using women and using these shame tactics, you need to start talking to dudes, man. Have a conversation with them. That's what it really is. You need to have a conversation with Gen X young men instead of a whole bunch of old ass dudes and women, especially these women out here that's raised these boys, yapping off at the mouth about stuff you don't even know about, in terms of not even understanding, how to work, or showing no compassion or care for the young men themselves. Anyhow, I'm out. Peace and blessings.